Trump's ceasefire with Iran is crumbling. Only 4 ships crossed the Strait of Hormuz yesterday, and NATO allies are refusing to help patrol it. The Senate is about to vote on stripping the president's war powers. China's economy is falling apart from 4 directions at once, and Wall Street just rallied on news that turned out to be wishful thinking. I am Andrew Meet Rich. This is US News World Reports, and today's stories are a masterclass in how things can look fine on the surface while everything underneath is breaking apart. If you are new here, hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the daily breakdown. Let us start with the biggest story. Trump's ceasefire with Iran was supposed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and bring oil prices back down. That was the promise. Here is the reality. In the 48 hours since the ceasefire was announced, a grand total of 4 ships passed through the strait. 4. One of them was carrying oil. The rest were essentially test runs, commercial ships checking whether they would get shot at. Vice President Vance has said the United States will not move forward with negotiations unless the strait fully reopens. Iran says America already violated the ceasefire by allowing Israeli strikes on Lebanon and by making demands about the nuclear program. So both sides are accusing the other of breaking the deal before the ink is dry. And here is where it gets genuinely strange. Before the ceasefire, Trump proposed that America should charge tolls on ships passing through Hormuz. Then he floated a 50-50 revenue split with Iran. Now he is threatening Tehran for collecting those exact same tolls. His position has changed 3 times in 5 days, which does not exactly project the kind of clarity that makes adversaries nervous. The Islamabad negotiations are coming up, led by Vance, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner. The ceasefire is holding, but barely, and every hour that the strait stays functionally closed is another hour that oil markets tighten. And the damage from this conflict is not theoretical, it is physical and it is already done. A gas facility in Qatar was damaged and repairs could take up to 5 years. Iraq has lost 70% of its oil production, roughly 4 million barrels a day. Saudi Arabia's east-west pipeline has been hit. The Fujairah terminal in the UAE is damaged. These are not things you fix with a handshake and a press conference. Before the conflict, the oil market had a comfortable surplus and crude was sitting around $60 a barrel. That surplus is gone. Analysts now say the floor price in this new reality is around $80, and every day the strait stays closed pushes it higher. Markets celebrated the ceasefire as if the war were over. It is not over. The infrastructure is broken, the shipping lanes are contested, and the diplomatic runway is getting shorter by the day. Now, the Senate. Democrats are moving fast. Chuck Schumer announced a vote next week on a war powers resolution. Under the law, a president has 60 days to conduct military operations without congressional approval. That clock is ticking. If the Islamabad talks fail, which they might, Trump has roughly 1 week left before he legally needs Congress to authorize continued operations. Schumer put it bluntly. He said this war has made everything worse. The strait, Iran's nuclear ambitions, gas prices, and America's credibility, all of it. He said, and I quote, "The authority of America has been flushed down the sewer. Republicans are blocking the effort so far, arguing that telling Congress your plans in advance means telling the enemy." Congressman Nathaniel Moran from Texas said there is no point in the president coming to Congress and previewing what is going to happen. Both sides have a point, which is exactly why nothing will get resolved before the deadline. Meanwhile, Trump is picking a separate fight with NATO. He called the alliance a paper tiger after European allies failed to step up on Hormuz. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte admitted that some members were, quote, a little slow to respond. Diplomats told Reuters that Rutte personally delivered Trump's demand to European capitals, give concrete commitments on Hormuz security within days. At the same time, Trump is discussing with advisers the possibility of pulling some American troops out of Europe. A senior White House official said no final decision has been made, but the fact that it is being discussed at all is a powerful signal. Multiple European allies have said they are willing to help in the strait, but only after the situation stabilizes and they receive safety guarantees for their ships. So NATO is ready to help, but only when the help is no longer needed. Trump wants commitment, but he is simultaneously insulting the people he is asking for it. This is not alliance management. It is a contradiction playing out in real time. If you are finding this useful, drop a like. It genuinely helps more people find the channel. Wall Street remarkably went up. All 3 major indices closed in the green. The Dow and S&P 500 gained about 0.6% each, and the Nasdaq rose more than 0.8%. Markets had been falling in the morning on Hormuz fears, but reversed course after Israel announced it was open to direct negotiations with Lebanon. Amazon jumped 5.5% after CEO Andy Jassy revealed that AI services in the cloud division are now generating more than $15 billion in annual revenue. That one number did more for market sentiment than the entire ceasefire. But underneath the rally, the economic data is less cheerful. Commerce Department numbers showed the economy grew slower than expected last quarter, and the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, which the Fed watches closely, indicates that inflation is still stubbornly elevated. The smart money is not panicking, but it is also not celebrating. The advice from analysts right now is simple. If you do not have energy stocks, add some. If you are heavy in airlines and cruise lines, lighten up. The market is not pricing in the real risk yet. And finally, China. This one is not about a single headline. It is about a structural shift that is going to reshape global economics for the next decade. Strategic analyst Peter Zion lays out what he calls the four horsemen of China's decline. First, demographics. The average Chinese worker is now between 45 and 49 years old. Labor is expensive and getting less productive. China cannot compete with Vietnam and Malaysia on cost anymore, and Western corporations are already moving production to Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Mexico. Second, real estate. The property sector was 30% of GDP. The bubble burst, the shadow banking system has been hollowed out, and 70 to 80% of household savings have evaporated. Consumer confidence is, in Zeihan's words, broken for a generation. Third, technology. China is cut off from advanced semiconductors. TSMC will not ship its best chips. ASML will not sell lithography equipment. Domestic alternatives are 2 to 3 generations behind. In the middle of an AI revolution, China does not have access to the hardware that makes it possible. Fourth, rare earth metals. America has reopened its own mines. Australia and Malaysia have entered the market. Alternative supply chains are forming, and once they reach full capacity, China loses that leverage permanently. China has reached its peak and is now managing a decline it is not ready to publicly acknowledge. That is a sentence, by the way, that applies to a surprising number of countries and organizations right now. Daldiel. So where does that leave us? A ceasefire that is not working, a strait that is barely open, a Senate clock that is about to run out, NATO allies who want to help, but only when it is safe, markets that are betting on a resolution that has not arrived, and the world's second largest economy quietly breaking apart while everyone is focused on the Middle East. These stories are not separate. They are the same story told from different angles, and that story is about a world where the old rules are not holding, and nobody has agreed on new ones yet. Every single one of your likes, your comments, and your shares tells YouTube that this kind of independent analysis matters. When you hit the like button, you are not just giving me a thumbs up, you are telling the algorithm to show this video to more people who care about what is actually happening in the world. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Producing this takes real work, research, fact-checking, cross-referencing sources, and making sure every number is accurate. If you want to support that process directly, you can use Super Thanks right below this video or become a channel member. It is not charity, it is a partnership. You keep this channel independent, and I keep giving you the news without spin, without sponsors telling me what to say, and without algorithms deciding what you should think. Leave a comment, tell me what you think about the Hormuz situation, about China, about the Senate vote. I read every single one. Thank you for being here, genuinely, and I will see you tomorrow.